All right, hey everybody, it's Kristine Mirelle with Starving Musicians Guide. I'm with Susan Erwin. Susan Erwin is absolutely amazing. She's a singer, she's a piano player, she travels the world traveler. She helps other musicians book gigs, learn how to start a music career like what she has done. She's been doing this for 16 years. Thank you, Susan, so much for joining me. How are you?
I'm awesome. Thanks for having me. I love what you're doing with everything, and I'm excited to be a part of this today.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited because one, we're going to talk about this incredible life that you've created. You and your husband perform together, traveled. I mean, you go to so many different countries. You make your living completely off of music, recording. I mean, you're doing so many things. And we're also today, we're going to leave people with resources. We're going to leave them with some cool set lists, songs, how to, some tips that you use to maximize how much tips you make. How to stay in touch with people, and also how to help people request songs so you're able to put on this great show. So I hope everybody stays around till the end, because Susan's going to give you guys her set list of 250 songs. Like, this is probably like one of the most valuable things I think anybody could give. She's giving you her money-making list for you guys to be able to just pick the songs, and this is what she's picked up over the 16 years that she's performed. So this is really valuable. So thank you, Susan.
Share anything. I like to tell people I love to give back to the industry and teach people how to do what I've done, and it's taken a long time. I know you are passionate about that as well, which is so cool to watch you help others achieve doing music full time and making a living off of music. And it can be done, and everybody starts somewhere. And if anyone ever wants to reach out to me, I'm an open book. They can always contact me, and if I have the time, I will spend it giving you the resources that I have, and I will include all of that later today. So
absolutely. All right, well, let's get into it. First, I want to talk about what you're doing, because one of my favorite things about your situation is you've created, the hashtag relationship goals. I think everybody has this dream of working with their, husband or their significant other, and you're traveling with your husband. You guys are actually performing together. Your husband's a fantastic musician, plays the fiddle and plays multiple instruments, correct?
He's a singer. He's a way better songwriter than I am. Like, he's a producer. Like, I found my other half. Like, it did not expect it, by the way, but it is a wonderful thing. So,
so you didn't plan it this way?
I didn't. You mentioned, I've been doing music full time for 16 years, and a little bit of backstory. I went to college and got a math and physics degree. I was a radio frequency engineer, and I went to corporate world, and I was like, it was an invaluable experience. I loved the fact that I saw that side of business and saw the real world and corporate world, but I had this feeling that I wasn't completely whole, and I wanted to chase this thing. I was going to figure it out, and I didn't know it was going to be music at the time. I discovered piano bars in Little Rock, Arkansas, while I was working at the headquarters for this telecom company. And so I had 10 years of classical piano training prior to that, and I always enjoyed performing. I was afraid to sing at that time. I didn't know how to sing. And so anyway, I ended up kind of unexpectedly in the music industry in the unique niche of piano bars. And once I realized it could be lucrative, and it could be a moneymaker and pay my bills, and I could be in charge of my destiny and do something I was passionate about, I was like, okay. I jumped corporate ship, and I decided to apply everything I had learned from my education in the real world to an actual music career. So I would say that I did it the right way in that regard. My dad was a little bit like, what are you doing with your life?
Yeah.
My mom was more like, do what you love. And I'm like, okay, so, but yeah, so it's been an interesting ride, and I feel like I just went on a tangent there, but yeah, it basically, I got into music by myself doing dueling piano bars, and worked my way from Arkansas to Branson to Los Angeles house gig, then Vegas Strip. 2 years I was working dueling piano bars in Vegas. I then moved back home and started doing solo piano bars, where I went from doing the 2 piano show where I was on one team member of maybe 2 or 3 pianists, to then doing my own show, which I threw myself to the wolves at that point because I wanted to get better. And I was like, I want to try this. And there was this cool opportunity to go to the island of St. Martin and play at this club called the Red Piano. And I was like, I'll figure this out. Because at that time, I just knew kind of like the girl songs. I was the girl on the staff. Mm-hmm. And I decided I wanted to do the full-on show and not be, because when I moved to Vegas, they were like, you need to know all these songs. I don't like, if Benny and the Jets comes up, you need to know that song. I don't care that you've been at other clubs where they didn't want you to play it because they wanted you to do just the girl songs. You need to be able to, somebody says $20 for Benny and the Jets or Piano Man or whatever it is, you need to do that. So that was where I was and why I decided to take that opportunity. And then I fell in love with the solo, and I was completely in charge of my own show. And I could then introduce my own songs as an artist, you know. So that was a cool branding opportunity. And then it's taken me all over the world. And that is really what I focused on for about 2-3 years. And then I met Cliff. And Cliff came unexpectedly, my husband. I met him in Little Rock, Arkansas. So it comes full circle, right? And then we met, a friend of ours said we should meet and I should maybe add him to my show. And saw him play and jaw hit the floor. I was like, whoa. And okay, so I'm almost 40. I'll be 40 in December. He's 27. So I married a younger man. So
hey now.
Cougar jokes right there. But his ability, his musicianship, his talent is off the charts. And so it just happened. Like life just came together in a very unexpected way, in a really cool way. So my show went from what I was doing to just like way up here. So he's on guitar, I'm still on keys. He's singing just as many songs as I do each night as far as leading. We're harmonizing. The feature is the fiddle, which he does like probably the highlight of most of our shows is like Devil Went Down to Georgia and those big feature songs with the fiddle. So when you talk about variety now, I've got a full gamut of lead female vocals, lead male vocals, harmonies, duets, featuring different instruments. So when you're doing a 5-hour show, it's really important to have variety, and that's key for us now. So that's why I would say it's a really, really cool fit for us. And we get to travel together. We can talk about all that later. I don't know how much you want to go into working with your significant other. I don't care. Whatever industry you're in, when you spend that much time with each other, you have to be able to get along and like understand your space and like, but for him and I, it works well. Like I've been in relationships before where it was just like, too much, you know, and we just work really well together. So you have to have that, I think. But so yeah, that's where we are. So we've been doing this show together in solo piano bars for about 3 years now, and we eloped in Vegas. Well, we were there. We were engaged, and we decided to just go ahead and get married. So we streamed it live in the little chapel in Vegas.
Yeah, I even saw the proposal where he showed up and you weren't expecting, your family was there and everything. I love that you guys live streamed that. I thought that was really cool. I just love everything about what y'all are doing because you both had your own things going on and then you guys combined and created something together. And I've met people that have created careers and this kind of the same thing that you have with Cliff. I met somebody, you know, husband and wife. The husband didn't even play piano. He learned piano and now they perform all over the world together. So it's so doable once you decide what it is that you want to do. And like you said, you came from corporate world where there's structure. And I think that's the difference is a lot of musicians don't add any structure or they don't think of it as a business. They kind of just go, oh, I'll just sing at some open mics and hopefully somebody finds me and discovers me and does everything for me. And that's when there's no plan and you need to have a plan. And that's exactly what you've done.
Well, I think, you know, the idea is that someone will come in and go, oh, look at this talent. I discover you and make you the star. And I think, I don't know where this quote came from, but it's like, discover yourself. Don't wait for someone to discover you. And we live in a day and age of information where everything that you need is a Google search away. And if you're resourceful, which is really important these days, you can find ways to do things and learn just about any skill set anymore just by YouTubing it, right? So finding ways to really wrap the business side in the education you need, and it's many times free. Like there's so much out there you can learn to do these things. And so take control of your career. If that's the number one thing I could say is, you know, there is like a benchmark of talent and aptitude I think that you need. Like you need to be able to sing pretty well and, you know, be able to have the time to learn the piano and all that. And everybody starts at different levels, but just set a plan for yourself and make it a business goal and say, this is what I'm going to do. And then use people like you who have the resources to learn how to get the gigs. And I love all the videos that you're doing because it's so helpful for people. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's the thing. It can be done. It's just the time and music business. Music is 50%, business is the other 50%. And there's a time and place where you're spending more than 50% on the music side to develop yourself, but there's also a time and place where you're going to be spending just as much time on the business and pushing toward to get all those goals. You may have actually been this, somebody said that 50-50 music business, and I was like, that's exactly right. So I don't know who said that, but
yeah, it's really important. People will just focus on their skills, on getting good at singing or playing their instrument, and they don't focus on the other aspect. And it's just as important, you know, to making sure that you have a successful career. And you've become really great at that. And because of that, you've gotten to travel, and you've gotten, and that's one of my favorite things. One of my favorite perks of being in music is, one, like you said, you don't have to answer to anybody. You're choosing your own schedule. There's freedom. Freedom is like my favorite thing in the world about music. You've traveled to some incredible places. You've talked about St. Martin. What are some of the cool places that you've gotten to go? People don't know that you can develop this skill literally in your, you know, bedroom. You can do, you know, and then you get out there. Once you get good at this, there's piano bars all over the world. Where are some of the cool locations that you've gotten to go to?
so I would say, just for the ones that I have been to, and that I actually continue to go to, every 2 months every year, I'm on the island of St. Martin at the Red Piano. I now am going to Santa Barbara, which is the same owners that started that one in the Caribbean, went and opened another one, the Red Piano in Santa Barbara. I love that venue. Amsterdam every year, Norway. There's clubs, piano bars all over Norway. I've been to Spain. All over the Caribbean, other than St. Martin, I've been to Aruba, the British Virgin Islands, Barbados. I've done cruise ships, and that's really cool. I don't like the longer contracts on cruise ships. Like, I was on there 2.5 months, and I think it depends on the person, but for me, that was a long time to be on the ship. But that was cool. I've been on tops of houseboats doing shows, or like on the side of they forklifted a piano down to the edge of the water, and I did a wedding in the British Virgin Islands. Just really cool, unexpected places that I've ended up because of this skill set. On a yacht, I was picked up by the captain of the little dinghy on a speedboat and put in the boat and taken out into onto the yacht, and then played the baby grand that they had on there. And it's just like random stuff, you know, that happens as a result of this unique thing. And so those are the places. I have an agent that I work with that knows my show and now knows Cliff and I and what we're trying to accomplish with the duo. And so his opportunities range from everything I just mentioned to Dubai, Asian countries, Greenland. I've heard of Alaska stuff. There's cruise ships all over. Cruise ships will take you even to Australia. I mean, there's all kinds of great cruise ship opportunities. And there's agents for all this stuff. So yeah, so basically I've worked up to a point where I built my electronic press kit. I got my demos ready. I've built a roster of venues that can vouch for me in my show. And then I take that and I just try to fill up my schedule as much as I can to where I want to go to these different places that would be a good fit for me. So, and then the agents work to get you the work, and then you just do it. You do a good job, show up, do the job, get invited back. So that's how you do it.
Yeah, and on top of this, you know, a lot of the people that are watching are also artists. They're songwriters, they're producers, and some of them come to me and they go, hey, you know what, actually though, my ultimate goal is to be releasing my own music. But they're also working a job at, you know, a fast food store or something else, you know, a grocery store, whatever. They're doing something else completely non-related. And I tell them it's such a great opportunity because, like yourself, you're making money performing and doing music, perfecting your craft, and you're using that money and you're putting it into, I mean, you're in your studio right now, you're recording other artists, you've released your own music. This is also a great opportunity because you're being able to become better at what you're doing and network in music and also release your own music. You have your own projects. Where can people find your stuff, by the way? Shout it out.
Yeah, I did 2 Nashville projects, and this was before I met Cliff. And so Susan Erwin on iTunes, Spotify, Erwin with an E. I did a full-on 12-song album, my debut album, and then I did a 3-song EP thing. And then Cliff and I are now working on our first projects, and we're going to kind of trickle out music over time instead of spending a lot. We don't have the time to like wait and do this full-on album and then launch it. So we're going to do like a song here and there over the next year, which I think keeps your fan base interested, and you can kind of try different things and see what works and then adjust as you go. So that's that's where we're going with that. So we are branded as Cliff and Susan, like I say, like Johnny and June, Sonny and Cher. It's Cliff and Susan. Everything online is Cliff and Susan, like all of our Instagram, social media, Facebook, Twitter. Just type in Cliff and Susan, so they can stay tuned for that. And on that subject, I've built a fan base of people who come to see me at all these different shows, and they know me as the piano woman, the girl in the piano bar. But, and I'll talk about this later, but the song requests, I have email lists, and I have like over 5,000 people on my email list as a result of all these years. So now when I turn around and want to release new music, I've got all of my fan base waiting to, or not waiting, but I will reach out to them, and then they'll be able to see the music and all that. So it's a great career builder, especially if you're able to introduce your own songs into your show, which is kind of tricky in the dueling piano world because it's not really that it's more of an all request cover show. But you have a little bit more freedom when you're doing a solo show to introduce your own music, which is cool, and sell your own CDs and have merch specific to your brand in the solo venues.
Absolutely. It's just good for anybody that has all around musical goals to make a living with music, to, produce their own music, release their own albums. You're definitely doing it. And on that note, we're talking about how usually the types of shows you're doing when you're doing dueling piano shows is you're doing cover songs. So people are requesting songs that they know. This is the fastest way to start making money. Original music, you can make money with it, but it takes time. You have to release it and put marketing behind it. Whereas cover songs, you can learn everything and be performing by next week. So I always tell everybody, it's just the quickest way to get into the music industry and performing. And one of the most important things is having a really great song list. I know so many people, I've gone to see some of the most talented people that have incredible voices, or they're incredible at their music, but they're playing songs I've never heard. I can tell that the audience is just not really invested. Like they're going, wow, this is a talented person, but they're kind of doing whatever they're doing. Whereas you could have someone with half the talent, but if they're singing all the songs that people love, that crowd is going to be a very, very different crowd. They're going to be very engaged. They're going to be participating because they're hearing stuff that they normally hear. So I want to talk to you about, because in my, in the Starving Musicians Guide, I do talk about the songs that work for me and the songs that I usually do. And I provide, different set lists and stuff for people, but everyone's so different depending on where your location is, depending on what your skill set is. Different songs work well for different people. So let's talk about, you have this resource. We're going to be giving away what, 250, tell people how you get, requests and how, because you've created this really great system that I love.
So the nature of piano bars is all requests, sing along. The crowd is the star. I just happen to know how to sing and play the piano and know all these songs. But you interact, you give them a variety of music. It's all covers. They request the songs, and there's art in knowing when to play those songs and how to continue to keep the show pacing like a DJ does, pace the night, because you're doing 4 and 5 hour shows sometimes. And so the number one thing, there's artistry in piano playing, there's artistry in singing. There is talent involved in all of that. But I would say just as equally, and you just said this, just as important, and maybe more important in these venues, and the skill set that I would say I really have honed for the last 16 years is knowing all these songs and knowing I can go in and look at a crowd of people and look at their age and make, so even down to what they're wearing, and go, this song will work. I know what I'm about to play to make these people happy. That is something I would love to be able to teach. And obviously we're here to help people do that. Sometimes it's also, you just learn because you know. So you cannot prepare enough for having enough songs. So that's why this right here. So I didn't do song lists before. Song lists introduced into the crowd. So this is a laminated front and back song list that I put together for a good mix of any genre, any decade. And these are literally on every table at my venue. And so I pass these out, which is an interesting thing. I go and make sure I'm the one handing these request forms and this menu. I call it a song list, whatever. It looks like a menu. A lot of times people think I'm their waitress. And they're like, can I get and I say, we're an all request show. Is this karaoke? No, it's not karaoke, but we have songs. You'll sing from your chair. We're going to have a fun time tonight. And then they go, oh, okay. And then they look at this list. So I'm going to include this list, a link to to this, so people can, all of your viewers can basically download this. This is specific to Cliff and I and our show, so you'll see like a little fiddle icon. I don't know if you can see that, but that little icon there is a fiddle. So that tells them which ones we use the fiddle, because they always request more fiddle, so they can request a song that has fiddle on it. But this, I think, for specific to what we're trying to accomplish today, is a great way for people to go, okay, what song should I learn? Take this and like pick, I could even like condense this down if I wanted to, but this is just a great I could only fit 250. We actually know probably over 1,000 songs, but this is like the main stuff. Go through here and pick them out and like, get a good mix. But I can tell you asked me to prepare like the top 10 songs or whatever, so I could kind of rattle off like what are some really good, just generic piano bar songs that would get great response. Some of these are just specific to what demographic you have, like My Girl or Sweet Home Alabama or Sweet Caroline or Benny and the Jets. Those would work on an older crowd and a young crowd. But Outcast, Hey Ya, probably still might work for some of the older folks, but that's really typically something you play later. So, but they all have great performance value when used appropriately. So, gosh, I could geek out and go into the science of what I do and how I always play oldies early, because you'll never alienate older folks with the oldies. You won't alienate the young crowd, because we all listen to the oldies because we learned about them from our parents and our grandparents. But if you go in and play some obscure 90s song that might please a young crowd, the older crowd's not going to really know that, and you kind of lost a little bit of oomph in your show on the early side of things. And then, some folks stay out late when they're older, but a lot of times the older crowd will leave, the room will turn over, and you'll have a young crowd late. So don't waste those songs on the first part of the night. So there's all kinds of science, I call it. But this is just a list. I'll include that. In the middle, it kind of gives some direction. It gives our social media links. It says request your favorite songs, artists, and genres. Here's a list of ideas. If you don't see your song, try us. I have a QR code that takes them to my full-on, all-comprehensive list that I upload or update on my website. It's susanerwin.com/song list if they wanted to go see that. And then it says tips appreciated. It has my Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, and then our website. So all of that's on here, and
we're going to include this. Let me add that. We're going to put the link on this video. So check the description. All you're going to have to do is go on there. You can put in your email, and it'll actually give you free access, totally free. And Susan is sharing this with you guys, so she's been very kind to do this. You can imagine after 16 years of doing this for a long time, getting requests, she knows, this is like data gathering. Really, like you said, there's a science to it. There really is. And I talk to people about that all the time. You can walk into a room, you look at the demographic, even where you're at in the world, the age demographic, culturally, everything about it. You can see, once you've been doing this for a long time, you see exactly what's going to work and what's not. And then there's the general songs that usually always work. And that's when you're talking about like My Girl and Benny and the Jets and that sort of thing. So people are going to be able to download it.
And there's maybe it's on another date, you and I could get together and talk about what songs work everywhere in the world, what genres and things are great in certain parts of the world. Like, for example, country music works really well in the southern states, Midwestern states, not as much in on the West Coast. Norway, they love country music. Didn't know that, right?
Really? Oh, wow. Okay.
Songs in Europe, like Angels by Robbie Williams, it's just as big as Sweet Caroline over there, but it's nothing here. So just like there are like so many things I've learned from a demographic and geographic endpoint that could be invaluable to people who are getting ready to go to a venue that they, you would eventually
to prepare for. Yeah, absolutely, to prepare for. And that's something that is great to ask in advance. If someone's going to be performing somewhere, if they kind of know, I'll ask a little bit about, before I go to a new venue, hey, what's kind of the age demographic, or where's everybody from, or that sort of thing, to try to get an idea. But over time, you just build this huge set list, like you said, like 1,000 songs. You've learned so many over the years that you can kind of accommodate any group that's coming up and take any requests. And you have a good system for that, for taking requests and
the request forms are on the table, and it says song, artist, your name, occasion email, and it says tips appreciated, stay in touch, and then has our social media link on the bottom. I've done it a lot of different ways. This is the honestly just as good, if not the best way. The reason I say it is you get the song, the artist, their name, so you can call them by name over the microphone. Hey, Steve-O wants Brick House, Commodores. Don't talk too much, but sometimes you need to say it. Like, you don't need to announce every song, so don't take it that way. But, and then if there's an occasion, so he wrote in here, occasion, question mark, it's Saturday night, exclamation. So, but if there's a birthday or an anniversary or something that you can work that into your show, a shout out, let's bring, oh, it's Tina's birthday. Tina, come down here. You know, that's a whole thing, bits and call downs for the interactive piano bar shows. So that data, this is all data, all of it. If they bring up a song, let's say, for example, it's Walking in Memphis, and they want to hear Walking in Memphis. Well, let's say, pretend I don't know Walking in Memphis, okay? They want a piano specific heavy, that Walking in Memphis is a very piano centric song. So I could say, but I know the way it is, or I could give them an opportunity. That information, sometimes you can work around, there's tricks around making that person feel important, number one, because they requested the song and gave you money most likely. So they need to be addressed on some level. Not every time do you address it, but if you need to, you can talk to them by name, know what they want to hear, if they're celebrating something, and then figure out how to make that, work it into your show and make them happy. And if you don't know the song, then there's tricks around doing things that would make them happy. You know, I'll trade you one Martina McBride for a Dolly Parton. Is that cool with you? Thank you for making my show work. Like, just the other night, I requested some song. It's like crazy vocals, and I'm like, that's not happening tonight. So I was like, I don't know that specific Martina McBride song, great song, but how about this? I'll do another country female artist. And then I also have emails on there, so I build my email list, and that gets interesting because folks have been drinking, and half the time you can't tell if it's an O or so. I do my best there, but I've built email lists, and you can even be like sending them an email the next day from all the, I might get 10% of my requests, maybe 5 or 6 a night that have emails on them, and if you have the time next morning, send them an email, add them to your list, and say, hey, thanks for coming out last night. Huge. That goes so much.
Very. Yeah. And I will add, you were talking about when people make requests and you don't know the song, and so you find out, a similar artist, like the Dolly Parton, Martina McBride. I'll do something as well, like, maybe the same artist, if someone's requested Benny and the Jets song, if you don't know, or I'm sorry, Benny and the Jets. Elton John, there we go. I was just Eric Clapton. Elton John, they'll request an Elton John song, and if I don't know that one, I'll say, hey, I don't know that one, but you know what, I got another Elton John for you. And like you said, it's good data, so you know exactly what they're wanting, so you can either find a similar artist, a similar song, a similar genre, or the same artist and a different song. I mean, it's very, very valuable, because then they feel like they were addressed and they tipped you, so you want them to feel like they work hard for that money and they gave it to you. So you want to feel like you accommodated them, and they want to feel like they were addressed.
And then, when I would say good advice for people who are starting out, if you're trying to do song lists, if you're trying to do all request shows, don't play. There is no reason you should play every song that comes up in that order when you get them, because 9 times out of 10, they're not going to, when do they ever request the right song for the right moment? So you really need to have your show planned. And so, even have a little set list over here if you have to, because you're brand new and can't think that quick about what'll work. That, songs that are go-to. I just got stumped. Proud Mary, I'll do it right now, because I couldn't think of anything better. And that's a crowd pleaser. It'll work every time. And the quality of your show stays. And then, so if you're starting out and you've got a list of song requests in front of you that you don't really know that well, you might have to read it. You need help with lyrics or something. There's a whole art to that too. Do like one request that you kind of don't know, you have to fake, or it's not maybe necessarily the greatest song for the show quality, but it's going to get the request played and they will know so do that like once every 2 or 3 songs. Don't sit up there and just try to do all requests because they gave them to you and let that drive your show. That is the number one thing I think I see people do, and they forget that there's you're still a DJ. You still have to
Mhm.
get everybody else in that room. And not everybody wants to hear some obscure B-side Pink Floyd song. Sorry. You know, like
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
got,
you still have to, you're like moderating how the night's going to go, and you still are responsible for creating great energy and flow
right.
of the night.
And another thing somebody said recently was like, nobody but you knows what on these request forms, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you don't have to do exactly what they say all the time.
Mhm.
So use it as data and make sure, especially if you get a $20 bill, I reward good behavior. There's a whole module you could go off of on how to get tips.
Mhm.
It's appreciated. I personally am not a big tip whore, they call them, where it's like,
Yeah.
play your song unless you give me $20. Like I couldn't, my integrity never felt like it was intact if I like went there.
Mhm.
Probably am a little too modest, if to be honest. That I could be more on the side of, if you think $20, I say stuff like, you think $20 to get your song played next, that's you're damn right. And then I move right along and I reward good behavior because I got the 20 and I can hold it up. Or you know, there's ways and tricks to get the money to follow. I think having a song list, people when they walk into your show and they see your song list, especially if you're new and you want to put all your songs that you know on there, well, that's a good way to know they're going to request songs you know, right?
Mhm.
But then they're more apt to give you money if they think you know it, I think.
Yeah.
I think
Absolutely.
this is, I haven't seen like some crazy tip increment since I've introduced these song lists. But I will say we have seen more tips. And I think it's because if you sit down into a show and you've never seen dueling pianos and you don't know it's a tipping culture, and to get your song played in priority, you need to give a little bit more money. I think people are more apt to put that $20 bill with the song they see on my list because they're like, oh, she's going to know it. But if you didn't know and you're just like blindly writing down Sweet Caroline and you don't know if she knows it, you may or may not give $20 bill. You might see,
Yeah.
wait. There's, so yeah, there's tricks in that to get more tips. But so main thing
And those are really valuable ones that I mean, those are really, really good ones that you're sharing right now. And
has never failed me, and I'll leave you with this because I know we have other topics, but this has never failed me. You put on a good show and you connect with the crowd and you leave those people having a good time, and the money will follow every time.
mhm.
Your integrity is still intact and you did a good job, and that venue will look at you as an asset because you kept people entertained and alcohol flowing the entire night.
Well, I like what you said earlier. You said the crowd is the star.
Yeah.
And I love that. And that's something that I've always told everybody about music is, yes, you're on stage, you are directing, but it's kind of just you're lucky to get to be the one that's kind of moderating what's happening, but it's not about you. It's about what's happening in the crowd. It's about making the crowd happy, because if the crowd's happy, they're going to love you. Because as long as you make the crowd happy, everyone's going to be a fan. They're going to be interested in everything that you have. They're going to tip you. They're going to want to buy your original music. They're going to want to add you on social media if you're making them happy. And a lot of that comes from the song list. If someone comes up and requests something that I know and it meant something to them, if they're celebrating an anniversary, a birthday, bachelorette party, or whatever it is, they're going to really appreciate that you knew the song. And, if they saw it on that list, I think one of the worst feelings is when someone walks up and they request something I don't know. And I'm like, okay, let me think of something else, and if you're not able to accommodate that or come up with something really quick, if you're just starting out, what's great is, like you said, your set list is great for beginners. It's great for advanced people, because no matter what, that whatever the crowd is requesting, they're going to get,
Right.
satisfied by being able to do
No,
that.
something you were talking about just then was that if like someone knows they request a song that meant something to them. A lot of times when you get a request for a song that's not great for the show, like it's a slow song, it's a slow sappy song, it's not like a high energy fun like sing along song. A lot of times, 9 times out of 10, they're requesting that because it was their wedding song, or it's something that, or it's her belated mother's favorite song, or whatever. It's something that it means something to them. And if you don't know that specific song, but if there's something like it, or there's tricks about, like, maybe play another love song and then make them feel special and be like, I don't know that one. That's a great song. That's awesome. That was your wedding song. I wish I knew it. That's not one that I really committed to memory. and just let them know you appreciate it, and then play Eric Clapton Wonderful Tonight and have them come dance at the piano. Like, give them their moment, and they will never be upset with you. Like, you can't possibly humanly know every song. So,
well, and sometimes, you know, what I'll do too, and I'm sure you probably do the same thing, is if they request a song that I know is like really slow and it's a part of the night where everyone's drinking and they're wanting to dance and something like that, but you know, they've tipped, you know, a really big amount, you know, because it's not, you know, it's not abnormal. Some people will go up there and hand you $100 and you're like, I don't want to have to hand this back. um, do like a shorter version of the song.
yes.
Sometimes just a verse and a chorus, and maybe double the chorus and get the crowd, you know, like All of Me by John Legend. I get that request all the time, but sometimes it's like fourth set when everybody's drunk. So at that point, it's like, okay, guys, you know, let's see who can, you know, everyone knows the words to that song. So you can get, you know, people singing along and maybe just do the chorus once or twice.
Another thing, when you've got a captive crowd like that and you get All of Me, number one, don't do the whole thing. Number two, start with All of Me, like do a medley, work into that, and then give them a verse, give them another sing along, maybe one more chorus, depending on how engaged they are. And then you've done it, you got them to sing, get along, move along. Come on.
Yeah, move along to a more upbeat song, give a nice big ending, and hey, applaud the, you know, congratulations to so and so and so and so, you know, let's congratulate them for their anniversary.
God bless America. I got this one request one time. And I should not have done this, but this is like one of those, this feeds into the horror stories, right? So, the Pussycat song, I don't know if you've ever heard, but, and I'm not a dirty, like some players.
Don't you?
Yeah, some piano players, there's the blue comedy, you know, some of them get really raunchy. John Valby is a very raunchy, like famous piano player out of New York City, I believe. I met him actually once in New Orleans, but he does all these like really dirty, like comedy sketches on piano, and like they're bad. And like, I just never been that girl, but I knew the song, the Pussycat song, and it's horrible. Honestly, I crawl under my piano whenever I ever like, even in the most crazy crowds that are totally fine with me doing it, I still feel that way. So I've got this show in Little Rock or in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and I get $100 bill for the Pussycat song at the beginning of the show. And for some reason, I thought that I would try it. And Cliff was looking at me like, what in the world are you doing? And I was like, okay, yeah, that was a bad call. Shouldn't have done that. So I got it out. But it's like that, to your point, sometimes you get $100 bill and you've got to make a call. Like,
you're like, I'm going to try it or I'm not. And sometimes it's a big epic win and you're like, wow, I need to do this more. And sometimes it's like, never will I ever do that ever again.
And my gut told me I shouldn't have done it, but I was feeling frisky that night, and I'm like, well, I'm confident. But, I mean, some people were like, what is shit? What? And yeah, anyway, I won't go into the details of that song, but it's just, it's crowd interactive, and for the right crazy crowd and the right piano performer, it's fine, but not every venue.
Not every venue. Well, you know what I would really like to do with you, Susan, if you're up for it? I would love to do another interview with you, totally where we focus on set list, where we really focus on what things work. Because I think that can be like that's a whole other, like you said, a whole other science, whole other, you know, you could write a book just on how to perform for what crowds, what set list.
Yes, and I would love that. Anything I can ever do to help you, you know, I'm here. What's interesting about this career and I'm sure you know this as well, but what is a better masterclass in learning hit songwriting than having to learn the hit songs that people, what is the song? Why is Sweet Home Alabama, why is that a good song? Why do people remember that? Why do they react dun, 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 woo every time? If you really dissect these and really treat it like an education in master class in hit songwriting, why are the Beatles so great? Why are these song hooks, lyrical hooks, melodic hooks, musical hooks? And if you take that and go, okay, of course you can end up with an identity crisis because you had to play everything across the board. I've got that problem, but it's a great way to learn songs and songwriting and go,
song structure, all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's really cool too. So yeah, I'd love to help out with any of that. You know,
that would be great. Yeah, let's schedule something like that where we can do just like a cool interview where we're just going to focus on that. And in the meantime, I do want to remind everybody, we're going to have the resource, her set list, her 250 song set list. We're also going to have a picture of her little request form that you created, which is awesome. And
I have a generic one. I can give them the one that I have with my branding. I can also
yeah.
give them one that has, they can just take it and print it like from a PDF.
Mhm.
And then they would
Yeah, people can create their own. Absolutely.
on, and so they can just take it and print it and use them for their shows. They can also, if they are pretty savvy with Photoshop, they can then put their own branding on it too.
Yeah.
Business cards, I'm huge on business cards. You got, if this is so important. I mean, I cannot emphasize how important this is. I'll include a link to what I've got on my business card, but these are sitting on my piano at all times. A lot of times these venues, people are sitting at the piano, and I hand these out. They might go, "Oh, do you have Venmo on the back?" I'll hand it like I'm in the middle of a song, and I'll hand it. And so Venmo and Cash App and PayPal, that's another thing that's kind of coming into the tipping culture now. So there's ways to, get that information there. Oh, and then I've got a little fancy mug. We've been doing merchandise, so we've got our mugs and T-shirts and gosh, so much.
These are all ways to really increase how effective you're able to run, because if you're playing, I've had people run up, they're drunk, they're trying to have a conversation with me, and they're like, hey, I was really thinking, and I'm in the middle of singing, so it's great to be able to have some kind of business.
I can comprehend and sing and play and like, okay, I think I know what she just said to me. Okay, but it's, yeah. That's great.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then they're able to go back to their seat, tip you on Venmo or Square Cash, like you said. And so everybody wins. So there's definitely little tricks. So we're going to include that. We'll include pictures of it so people can take a look at it. They can change it however they would like to have their logos or their contact information, however much. I think this is going to be really helpful. Thank you, Susan, so much. These resources that you're giving are really, really valuable. And I think all the viewers would be really lucky to download this, because usually you can't really find a lot of these types of resources online, unfortunately. I don't know why there's not a lot of this. And that's why I wanted to invite you here. So thank you so much. And then we're going to include your social media and everything as well.
Yeah, all the links on that. There's one more thing. The drum machine that we use for our show has been something that a lot of people they have a lot of questions about that. I have a link to the YouTube where I did a little video on it.
Okay.
There's also that they can go get. I'll send you that link.
Okay, that'd be great. We'll include it all on the free link. Guys, check out the description. This is like Susan's, 16 years of experience here as a performer, as a professional performer, making a living, her and her husband traveling the world for the last 3 years. She's giving you this information. It's very, very valuable. Take advantage of it because it's free. You're not paying for it. You're getting this for free. So thank you so much, Susan. You have been so great. And thank you so much for your time. I know you're a busy woman. So thank you, and we're gonna join again. So I'm gonna see you again, and we'll definitely cover more on set lists and other important things.
All right. Well, I want to leave everybody that's watching this in the future. Just stay at it. That's the main thing. Set a goal and stick with it. Consistency is key. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So don't be discouraged. I was once sitting in my room learning respect Aretha Franklin and upset about not figuring out what key to sing it in. Like, we all have somewhere we start. And you just continue to grow and learn from people like Kristine, who have been really putting great resources out there. So thanks for letting me be a part of it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Susan. Have a wonderful day.
Bye, guys.
All right. See you.